The emotional, stressful, and demanding work of child welfare professionals elevates the risk for experiencing secondary traumatic stress. Secondary trauma is not only a health risk to the child welfare professional, it ultimately increases staff turnover, resulting in higher agency costs, low staff morale, and an increased workload for remaining staff, which can result in poor decision-making with children and families. The following training video is part of a series dedicated to helping child welfare workers learn practical skills to cope with the emotional tolls of their very important work. Throughout this series, child welfare workers will learn about the dynamics of secondary traumatic stress, self-care strategies, and a framework for coping with secondary trauma.
Hello and welcome to Basic Meditation Practices for the Social Services Community. I am Christine Jaruzik and I will be your presenter today. A quick disclaimer before we get started. Please consult a medical professional as well as a meditation specialist before practicing meditation if you have experienced any of the following. The first is a medical condition that would hinder your ability to stay still for long periods of time. The second is any medical condition that would affect breathing, such as COPD or asthma. The third is if you've been diagnosed or you suspect a diagnosis of a psychotic disorder or other severe mental illness. And finally, if you have recently experienced a trauma or a loss. Grief can sometimes sneak up on a person when you're in a meditative state. And while this may not preclude you from participating in meditation, we ask that you do seek a professional consultation before you get started. Considering that this is for the social services community, I wanted to also discuss a little bit about the social services plight. So the first is that typically you see a lot of long hours and heavy caseloads. This can really wear a person down. However, underneath that is a real strong desire to want to help others. With these two mixed together, however, that brings us to the third point of compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma. Sometimes we can become so burnt out, so tired that it's very hard to continue with what we're doing. We can gain a lot of stress or anxiety on our own. As someone who practices psychology myself, I understand this plight. And if there isn't a certain amount of self-care, this can drag you down a rabbit hole. With vicarious trauma, occasionally there's a secondary trauma that may occur. This is when you are listening to someone who has been victimized themselves and you realize that you are starting to basically take on their properties that they're talking about, the trauma that they experienced, you're internalizing on your own. Meditation can really help with this as we witness life's injustices, and then also as you realize that you're gaining a lot more stress and sometimes even hopelessness, helplessness, and isolation in our lives. By practicing meditation, that can actually help to counteract a lot of the stress that you are feeling. It's really going to be about prioritizing what it is that you need. Where is this burnout occurring? When it is that you do need to take a break. And I'm going to encourage you to really examine this in your own life as well. If you notice that it's long hours and heavy caseloads, where can you put in those breaks to practice meditation? Where can you start to lower your own stress? So next I want to discuss the 7 points of mindfulness, and this is going to be very important while going into your beginning stages of meditation practice. So the first is non-judging. This is really accepting yourself for who you are and the sounds that are happening around you. Let's say there's a passing car that happens outside your window. Well, instead of having it knock you out of a place of a meditative trance, allowing the sound to incorporate into what it is that you are doing. Similarly, if you have a thought that comes through, take notice of the thought and just let it pass on through again. So again, the first, non-judging. Second is patience. Having patience in the process, having patience with yourself, being a beginner especially, and also placing yourself again in the presence. And I can't emphasize that enough, and I'll probably emphasize it a few more times. So staying in the present, not worrying about what's happened in the past or where you're going in the future, but patience with where you are in this moment right here, right now. The next is the beginner's mind. There are really no experts in the practice of meditation. Yes, there are people who have been practicing meditation much longer than you may have, and there are people that practice a lot more than probably I do as well. In fact, I'm pretty sure. However, with that being said, Everybody who steps into the practice of meditation, every time you sit down to meditate, we ask that you go into a beginner's mind from the very start. You never know what's going to come up for you. You never really know exactly what's going to occur, even what you may learn about yourself. Or let's say if you're doing something internally, you're asking yourself a question or saying a mantra out loud, what may occur with that as well. So really keeping in the beginner's mind as you go. Next is trust, trusting in this process, trusting in yourself doing this process. It's, again, not always going to be easy. Some days are going to be better than others, just like with exercise. You may not always be able to do 10 reps one day. You may only be able to do 2, especially if you're not feeling well. But trusting that your body and your mind is leading you where it needs to go. And trusting that you don't feel like you have a loss of the sense of control. Finally, another point is non-striving. Non-striving is really, again, having to do with this letting go and just fully accepting where you are, not attempting to be something you're not attempting to focus your mind or force your actions in a specific way or control every area and aspect of the room and all the sounds around you, but just letting it be, letting yourself be. And that goes also into acceptance. Accepting who you are, accepting what's happening, accepting that you don't really have a direction, that it is okay to just be, and accepting again what's coming out of the process, and finally letting go, which is very similar to the other 6 that were mentioned. The more you let go of not only those expectations and of the past and the future and where you see yourself heading, and the more you enter into acceptance, the deeper your meditation process is going to be, and the more at peace you will feel with yourself on a regular basis. So now that we've gone over these 7 points of meditation, I would like to actually bring you into a mindfulness meditation. So now whenever you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If you do not feel comfortable closing your eyes, we have provided a picture for you to focus on. And again, allow your breath to elongate. A nice deep inhale in. Allowing your diaphragm to expand up into your chest, holding at the top, and exhaling all the way. Again, in. And back out. Notice that it becomes easier and easier to take deeper breaths as you go, allowing your body to shift or relax into place as needed. If at any point during the meditation you feel the need to move, please do so. You do not need to stay perfectly still. As you breathe in, start to count your breaths. You can do this using the 4x4 method, or simply letting a full inhale and exhale be one. Allow any passing sounds to simply flow through, as well as any thoughts. It doesn't matter. Notice how easy your breaths are forming as they go in holding at the top of the breath and flowing back out. Allow your muscles to start to progressively relax, being mindful on each muscle group as you progress forward, starting with your feet, releasing all of the tension down into the floor. Releasing your calves and your thighs. Taking a nice deep breath in. And completely exhaling as you move to your hips, your stomach, allow your back to relax. Releasing all tension down into the floor. Relax your hands, your arms, allowing your shoulders to droop slightly. Moving upward still to your neck, your jaw, your cheeks, and your forehead. Releasing any area of tension throughout your body that may still be there. And when you are ready, start to relax your shoulders. Allow your breathing to normalize. You may start to feel lighter and more awake. Allow your body to start to move your hands and your wrists. Feel free to move your ankles and your neck. And when you are ready, gently start to open your eyes and come back to the here and now, remembering that you can access this place within you anytime you wish. I thank you so much for joining me during this presentation, and I hope that this helps you in your daily practice of meditation. Enjoy.